that said, let's get to the topic of the day. And the topic of the day, bluntly, you don't need me to tell you where we're going to start. It is Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, where even if nothing had been going on off the field over the last couple of weeks at Michigan, this would have been a mega game. Top 10 matchup, Big Ten East on the line, Big Ten championship on the line, college football playoff berth on the line. There was already plenty coming into this without all the off the field stuff. So when you add in all of the off the field stuff, it shows this was one of the craziest lead ups to a game I can ever remember. And it speaks to how crazy it was. Think about all the stuff that we haven't even talked about on this show. Last time we recorded, Jim Harbaugh was still the head coach at Michigan, wasn't suspended. We didn't know what the Big Ten was going to do. We didn't know if he was going to be allowed on the sideline. So you think about Friday afternoon, and we're going to get into all this at the end because I want to focus on the game. But Friday afternoon, he finds out about 3:30, he's not going to be allowed to coach. We try to figure out, is there going to be an injunction? Will the courts allow him to be on the sidelines even if the Big Ten won't? And so all of this stuff is going on. Again, I promise we'll talk about it at the tail end of this conversation. But at the end of the day, none of it really mattered, right? Because once those two teams took the field, once they were on those sidelines, all that ultimately mattered for Michigan was pretty straightforward. Are you going to win this game? Are you going to put yourself in position to play Ohio State to win the Big Ten East? Are you going to win this game to put yourself in position to compete for a national championship? You're either are or you're not. If Jim Harbaugh isn't there, you lose. Nobody outside of Ann Arbor is going to care. It comes down to the 85 guys in that locker room with the coaching staff that was there. So to see what happened on the field on Saturday, absolutely incredible. As Michigan goes to Happy Valley, finds out literally about 90 minutes before kickoff, Harbaugh is officially not going to be ready, and they go on the field and beat a Penn State top 10 team 24-15 final score in what was clearly an emotional day, clearly an emotional week. We saw Sharon Moore on the sidelines after the game. So much credit to Michigan, so much to dive in. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's break this game down because I just give this team so much credit for everything that they did, all the adversity that they overcame in getting this win. Now, obviously, by the way, it's worth noting, there is a James Franklin Penn State side of things, mostly James Franklin. We'll talk about that in a minute. But right now, the focus has to be on Michigan. Because again, you think of everything that they went through this week. They come on the field. It isn't pretty. They fall down early. And then they just kind of do what Michigan does, what they've done the last 3 years. They don't panic. They don't worry. It's clear, and I thought Joel Klatt did a good job of explaining this during the broadcast, that the speed and athleticism of Penn State's defense was giving them fits, so they changed up what they did. And they basically just went back to old school bully ball Michigan football. It's funny, on Wednesday's show, we talked about this, and Harbaugh actually talked about this in the lead up to the game. A year ago, the question about Michigan was, can they pass the ball when they absolutely need to? This year, though, the run game has been struggling. J.J. McCarthy was awesome coming in, and it was the run game which had been kind of good but not great. Well, I think we got our answers to whether Michigan can run the ball, because against an elite top 10 defense pretty much across the board in every statistical category, the numbers speak for themselves. Michigan finished this game. Let me make sure I get all my stats right. Forgive me here. Michigan finished this game with 227 yards rushing. This against a Penn State defense, which, as I said, is basically elite in every major category. And coming into this game specifically was number 2 in the country, 60 yards a game Penn State was giving up on the ground. 227 yards rushing on the number 2 ranked rush defense in college football. And the rest of the stats speak for themselves as well. 5 yards per carry, as I said. By technicality, Michigan, how about this? They ran the ball 30 on the final 32 plays of the game. Now, by technicality, there was a pass in there, but there was a penalty called. So because it's a penalty, it doesn't go as a pass in the scorebook. But 32 straight runs starting in the second quarter, really didn't even attempt to pass the ball in the second half. J.J. McCarthy, who I thought was probably with a big game, maybe your Heisman Trophy favorite, finishes, how about this, 7 of 8 yards passing. But what I love about this, Michigan on the road, interim head coach, Jim Harbaugh isn't there. They get back to their roots and they get back to what works. They pound them. They beat them up at the line of scrimmage. They do just enough to get the victory. And credit to the defense, right? The defense, it's obviously been a little bit maligned, and what did they know and everything involved and all that stuff. Well, I think it's safe to say, and part of it again is on Penn State, and we will get to them momentarily. But at the same time, that defense was just so spectacular on this Saturday, as Michigan's defense finishes allowing under, right around, I want to make sure I have all the stats correct here, but basically in this game, Michigan ended up giving up a grand total of, let's see here, make sure I got my stats right, 238 yards of total offense. Oh, by the way, the pass game was held to 74 yards passing by Michigan's defense. Give up 15 points, but let's be honest, one of those touchdowns came late. We thought they had sealed it with a victory, but this was just old school bully ball Michigan. On the road, back against the wall, everybody's doubting you, everybody's against you. What do? You beat the crap out of somebody and win a game ugly. Everybody on social media had the same reaction, that Bo Schembechler is smiling down from the heavens, that even Woody Hayes enjoyed that one. So that's how Michigan gets the win. Quickly, I want to just talk about the bigger picture stuff here, because again, part of it is Penn State, James Franklin was abysmal. Okay. But at the same time, we have to take a moment. Let's appreciate everything that Michigan went through over the last couple days, and frankly, couple weeks to get this win. And I've talked about it on this show, but this is a program that as of right now, let's just put out the facts. So for the non-Michigan fans, you can yell at me. You can yell at me in the YouTube comments. You can yell at me in the Apple reviews, whatever. But at the end of the day, this is what we know about Michigan football right now. Yes, there was alleged cheating going on. Yes, as many people have pointed out, Michigan never really denies that it happened, just that one, that other teams are basically doing the same, and two, that nobody outside of Connor Stallions knew. And so I bring it up because for the last 3 weeks, the entire program has been dragged through the mud. Jim Harbaugh, his coordinators, his players, certainly Connor Stallions. Yet as of right now, we have no knowledge that anyone outside of Connor Stallions knew about what was going on. Okay? So you're getting dragged. You're being called a cheater. You're being called a fraud. You're being told that everything that you've done the last 3 years is meaningless because you were cheating your way right through it. Okay? Thank you, everybody, for your support of the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube channel. And we have a major announcement, as with legal sports betting coming to the state of Kentucky. By the way, college hoop season is here, so Kentucky is on fire. Well, guess what? Here is the announcement. The Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And here is the cool part. DraftKings has an incredible offer for first-time customers who are listeners of the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. Here is what you need to know about that offer. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the promo code Torres. That is right, Torres, Torres. It's that simple. Download the app. Bet $5 on any game. Could be pro, could be college, could be basketball, could be football. And you get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code Torres. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook. Incredible offer. First-time customers, take advantage right now. Through it, okay? And so I bring it up because think about that cloud hanging over your program. Then think about the secondary cloud of what the Big Ten did to Michigan this week. And let me say this, guys and girls. I don't swear on this podcast often. I know many people listen with kids and with children. And if you are, I apologize because I'm about to go off. I'm from East Coast. The East Coast is going to come out of me here in a second. So if you don't want to hear it, make sure to turn down. What the Big Ten did to Michigan this week was absolute, I'm not even going to swear. It was absolute nonsense. It was absolute BS. It was absolute garbage. It was insulting to everybody, not only at Michigan, but frankly, everybody across the Big Ten. Because here is what drives me so crazy about what happened to Michigan over this week, okay? I started hearing on Sunday night that Tony Petitti was going to take the measure of suspending Jim Harbaugh or punishing Michigan and superseding the NCAA investigation, making the decision that under the sportsmanship policy, he had the authority to do something even if the NCAA couldn't. We can agree or disagree with something if something should have happened or not, okay? Why I bring it up, though, is for this reason. It is because we started hearing that on Sunday. Michigan officially filed its appeal on Wednesday night or whatever the process is. They gave their documentation to the Big Ten on Wednesday night. Tony Petitti had Wednesday night to make a decision, Thursday night to make a decision, Thursday morning to make a decision. He could have even made a decision Friday morning before Jim Harbaugh got on that plane. And what he did on Friday, I think was the most BS crap that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because this whole thing is about integrity and sportsmanship. How is it fair to those players to have to get on a plane with their head coach and have no idea if he's going to be able to coach them? And oh, by the way, on top of that, they find out when they land. The biggest game of their season for many of those players, the biggest game of their careers. They don't know if their head coach is going to be there. And again, you had about 36 hours between when Michigan submitted their stuff, when they made the decision, when the team was in the air. And so to do that to those kids, it's the biggest crock of crap that I have ever seen in my life. And I'm so frustrated. And I didn't plan on becoming a Michigan defender when all this started. But to do what they did, I thought was the biggest piece of crap thing I've ever seen done. Not fair to those kids, not fair to, frankly, you know who it wasn't fair to? Sharon Moore, okay? And so let's take half a moment here because I want to credit two entities here. One, Sharon Moore deserves some, if Michigan wins a national championship, I think they need to put up a statue of Sharon Moore, okay? Because keep in mind, this guy's the offensive coordinator. He's the play caller. He's already got a full-time job on his hands every Saturday, one of the most important jobs at the University of Michigan, frankly. And so for him to be the full-time play caller, and then to find out that the injunction that was filed is not going to be heard on Saturday morning, that nothing is going to be done. And he's got to then become the head coach an hour before kickoff. No one has ever, I don't think anything has ever happened like that. We've had situations where we've had interim head coaches, but they've had the whole week. They've had the whole offseason, whatever, to prepare. This guy got thrown into the fire at about 10 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday and found out, oh, yeah, by the way, Harbaugh's definitely not coming. You're the guy. So credit to him. He cried after the game. Everyone, I saw this on social media. Screw everybody on social media. I saw oh, that's corny. Oh, that's lame. Oh, that's pathetic. Sharon Moore was so emotional because of everything that program has been put through, his team has been put through, what he has personally been put through. And by the way, they lose that game. Nobody's looking at Jim Harbaugh. They're looking at him and saying, Sharon, respectfully, we love you, but we didn't win that game, and our season's on the brink now. So credit to Sharon Moore. As I said, if Michigan wins a national championship, build that man a statue this year. Beyond that, let me also say this. Let's give some credit to the players, okay? Let's give some credit to the players because as I've said so many times, I don't think I've ever seen a group of college athletes as resilient as Michigan is right now. Now, they have two big games left, potentially without Jim Harbaugh before he comes back, okay? But I bring that up because I've talked about this with Michigan for a while, is they were my preseason national championship pick, even after we knew Harbaugh was going to be suspended for 3 games because of the resilience of this group. I've said it many times. But 2 off seasons ago, not this year, but last year, Michigan was coming off its first really big season, Big Ten championship, college football playoff loss to Georgia. And that offseason, remember, Jim Harbaugh interviewed for multiple head coaching jobs. He interviewed for the Minnesota Vikings on National Signing Day. And going into 2 seasons ago, I said, I don't think I think Harbaugh lost the locker room. How can his team come back and how can he look that team in the eye after what he decided to do? And then what ends up happening? They go 12-0 the regular season, beat Ohio State again, make the college football playoff again. So this is a team that has dealt with offseason rumors for 2 straight years. This for the last 3 weeks. The Big Ten tried to throw every curveball they could at them before the biggest game of the season, and they deliver. We'll see what happens next. For people who haven't followed the legal parameters of this, the courts basically are going to meet on Friday. I think it actually hurts Michigan at this point more now than anything because, again, they got to fly out on Friday to go play at Maryland. So we'll see what happens. We know the setup of the punishment. Harbaugh is still allowed to coach during the week, which that might be a Monday or Tuesday topic is, the Big Ten's suspension, I think actually just made everybody mad because Michigan fans are mad, but, Ohio State, other Big Ten fans think it's not enough. Harbaugh's allowed to coach during the week. He's just not allowed to be on the sidelines on Saturday. So I'm not going to keep going on and on. The bottom line is I want to credit to Michigan. We'll talk about Penn State side of things now because it was maybe James Franklin's worst day as a head coach, but credit to Michigan, the most resilient team that I have ever seen. We'll see if they could finish this regular season in style, play for another Big Ten championship, and potentially a college football playoff berth.